This is the review sheet for statistics, MAT 1272, review sheet number 3. We got questions 1 through 7 on page 1, questions 8 through 12 on the second page. Let's start with number 1. I'm not going to read the whole question, but so we're looking to find a z-score here. We're given an average, we're given a standard deviation, and it says to assume the data is normally distributed, so this will read as a normal distribution problem. Let's first look at finding a z-score. A z-score has a formula with it. Z is equal to the value that the problem is giving you minus the average of the standard of the normal distribution divided by the standard deviation of the normal distribution. So we want to find a z-score associated with someone who spends 3.23 hours looking at a phone. So 3.23 minus 3 divided by 0.5 is equal to 0.46, and that's all there is to it. Z-scores can be negative or positive. When you're using your calculator for this calculation, make sure you put in parentheses around that 3.23 minus 3 part, right, the numerator. That way your calculator will calculate the order of operations correctly. So what is the probability that a randomly selected individual spends between 2.2 and 2.8 hours looking at their phone? So this is a more standard normal distribution kind of problem, more regular kind of problem, which requires us to draw this kind of diagram over here. A normal distribution with the mean, the center. This one was 3, so we can put that in the middle. And since this is asking for between 2.2 and 2.8, that means we're going to put these values 2.2 and 2.8. Both of them are less than 3, which means they both belong on the left side of this normal distribution. And when we find a probability using normal distributions, right, because it's asking for a probability, when we find a probability, what we're looking for is essentially the area on the normal distribution between these two values, 2.2 and 2.8. And in order to do that, we're going to use our TI-84 calculator, and we're going to use what's called the normal CDF function. Right, the normal CDF function is going to take 4 inputs past these parentheses. Right, one of them is the upper boundary, which in this case is 2.8. The other one is the lower boundary, which in this case is 2.2. And then we're going to put in the average, we're going to put in the standard deviation, and then hit enter. So that's 2.2. Oh, I switched it. The first input that you put in is the lower boundary. I switched that when I labeled this over here. Sorry about that. Hope I didn't cause any confusion. But we're putting in the lower boundary, 2.2, then the upper boundary, 2.8, then the average, which is 3, and then the standard deviation, which is 0.5. Let's take a look at this emulator, which again emulates a TI-84. So if you have a TI-83, an 84, 84 plus, or something like that, it could look slightly different. What we have seen in class, the one that I use on the computer is slightly different than this even. So most of it is the same. So hopefully this will still help. We're going to hit second and then the VARS button. That's for where we get all our distributions. We're going to choose number 2, normal CDF. See, now the one that in class shows a menu. This one shows, what you're supposed to put in, and some of them don't even show this. So it might be something you have to memorize. 2.2, the comma button is right above the 7. 2.8, the comma button. Then the mean was 3, comma, and then 0.5 for the standard deviation, and then make sure you close that parenthesis, hit enter. So we get 0.290, 0.2898. Round it off to 3 decimal places, we can do 0.29. And that will be our answer right over here.